On December 4th, 1872, a boarding crew climbs onto a fully seaworthy ship drifting in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and finds all 10 people who sailed her out of New York 3 weeks earlier simply gone. Her cargo sits untouched. Her captain's charts are still on the table. Not one body, not one sign of struggle, not one clue that will ever fully explain where those 10 people went. More than 150 years later, this ship's name has become the entire world's shorthand for an unsolved disappearance, and yet, almost nobody today can name a single member of the family who vanished that morning. We remember the mystery. We forgot the people who lived and died inside it. So what actually happened in the final hours aboard the Mary Celeste? In the next 12 minutes, you're going to see the buried Gibraltar investigation report that accused the wrong men, the two brothers secretly suspected of murder, and the modern science that finally explains how 10 lives disappeared from a ship that never even sank. What you're about to hear will change the way you think about every unsolved mystery you've ever watched. Stay with me, because the real story is stranger than anything Hollywood ever invented. You are standing in the shipyard at Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia, on May 18, 1861. Sawdust hangs in the cold Bay of Fundy air. Hammers ring off green timber. Shipbuilder Joshua Dewis has just finished the very first vessel his yard has ever launched, and he watches as she slides into the water for the first time. He names her Amazon. She should have been his masterpiece. Instead, she becomes something closer to a curse. Within days of her maiden voyage, her first captain falls violently ill with pneumonia. He dies before the ship even reaches home port, and the crew is forced to turn back early, carrying their captain's body instead of cargo. That is only the beginning. On a later voyage, the Amazon collides with another vessel in the English Channel. Then, in October 1867, a brutal storm drives her onto the rocks at Cow Bay, Cape Breton Island, smashing her hull so badly that her owners simply give up and abandon her as a wreck. But here is what nobody tells you. Abandoning her should have been the end of the story. It wasn't even close. A local salvager named Alexander McBean picks up her broken hull for almost nothing. Within a month, he flips her again. By November 1868, an American mariner named Richard W. Haynes buys the wreck outright for $1,750, and then pours nearly 5 times that amount, $8,825, into rebuilding her from the keel up. Haynes renames her. The cursed Amazon is dead. The Mary Celeste is born. You would think a full rebuild washes away bad luck. It doesn't. In October 1869, Haynes' own creditors seized the ship out from under him, and she sold once again, this time to a New York consortium led by a businessman named James H. Winchester. 3 different names, 3 different owners, one ship that keeps almost destroying everyone connected to her. Think about what you just heard. This ship survives a captain's death, a mid-ocean collision, and a shipwreck, and she hasn't even left for her most famous voyage yet. One more owner is about to take her out to sea, and this time, nobody comes back. It is October 1872, and you are standing on the docks of New York Harbor, watching a 282-ton brigantine undergo an expensive refit. Her new part owner, a respected 37-year-old sea captain named Benjamin Spooner Briggs, has just taken command for her first voyage since the rebuild. Briggs isn't some reckless gambler chasing a payday. He's a career sailor with a spotless reputation, and he has personally invested his own savings into this ship. He makes an unusual choice. Instead of leaving his family behind, he brings his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, aboard with him. Their school-aged son stays home in the care of his grandmother, a decision that, in hindsight, may have saved that one child's life. Briggs chooses his crew with the same care he gives everything else. First mate Albert G. Richardson has sailed with him before and is even married to a niece of the ship's owner, Winchester. Second mate Andrew Gilling, only about 25 years old, was born in New York to Danish parents. 7 crewmen in total climb aboard alongside Briggs. 10 people, 1 ship. And this is where everything changes. On November 7, 1872, and the Mary Celeste sails out of New York Harbor loaded with 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, a flammable, toxic cargo never meant for drinking, bound for the perfume and fortified wine industries of Genoa, Italy. You can smell the fumes seeping faintly from the hold as the ship clears the harbor. Nobody aboard has any idea that 18 days from now, every single one of them will disappear forever. Most people never connect these two facts. This ship is carrying nearly 1,700 barrels of a substance that turns liquid into invisible explosive vapor when it leaks, and she is about to sail straight into a 2-week stretch of brutal Atlantic storms. She is heading toward the Azores. She will never arrive in Genoa. You are Captain Briggs, standing at the helm through the 3rd week of November 1872, and the ocean will not let up. Winds are tearing past 35 knots. Waves are slamming the hull hard enough to rattle every lantern in the cabin. You write your log entries by candlelight, hand cramping around the pen, salt spray stinging your eyes every time you climb on deck. Then, on the morning of November 25th, 1872, at 5 a.m., something changes. The storm finally breaks. The island of Santa Maria and the Azores comes into view off the bow. You write what will become the final entry anyone will ever read in that logbook. A routine note, nothing dramatic, nothing that hints at doom. The ship, the log says, is safe and on course. 10 days pass. 10 days of complete silence. The answer to what happened in between will make you question everything you think you know about the sea. It is December 4th, 1872, and you are aboard the Canadian brigantine Dei Gratia, sailing roughly 400 nautical miles east of the Azores. Through rough weather, your captain, David Morehouse, spots something wrong on the horizon. A ship moving strangely, her sails half set and torn, yawing without any hand on the wheel. Morehouse knows this vessel. It's the Mary Celeste. He knows her captain, Briggs, personally, and he knows she should already be docked in Genoa. You would have made the same mistake Morehouse's crew almost made, assuming a ship under sail must have someone steering it. She does not. Morehouse sends a boarding party across the churning water. What they find defies all logic. The Mary Celeste is completely deserted. Roughly 3 feet of water sits in the hold, enough to be noticed, not nearly enough to panic over. 9 of the 1,701 alcohol barrels are found strangely empty. The ship's only lifeboat is gone. So is her chronometer and her sextant, the exact instruments a crew would grab if they were leaving on purpose, in a hurry, expecting to come back. But here's what nobody tells you. The crew's clothes are still folded in their quarters. A sounding rod, used to measure water in the hold, lies out on deck. The ship's pump sits partially taken apart, as if someone had been checking it moments before abandoning everything. Sarah Briggs's belongings, 2-year-old Sophia's things, untouched. And not one of the 10 people who sailed from New York is ever seen or heard from again. Morehouse's men sail the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar to claim salvage rights. She is later valued at $46,000. His crew will eventually be awarded only 1/6 of that, a number that will fuel suspicion for years to come, and that suspicion is about to turn ugly. You are inside the Gibraltar Vice-Admiralty Court in early 1873, watching the colony's Attorney General, Frederick Sully Flood, build a case that has almost nothing to do with evidence and everything to do with suspicion. Flood knows that Morehouse and Briggs were friendly captains who sometimes dined together before their voyages. That single fact is enough for him. His theory, Morehouse and Briggs secretly conspired to split an insurance payout, and Briggs murdered his own crew before hiding himself in the hold of the very ship that discovered his own abandoned vessel. Think about how absurd that sounds when you actually examine it. Briggs held an ownership stake in the Mary Celeste. He would have profited nothing from destroying his own investment. And Flood's entire theory offers no explanation whatsoever for what happened to Briggs's wife or his 2-year-old daughter. But here is what nobody tells you. 2 crewmen, German-born brothers Volkert and Boy Lorenzen, also fall under suspicion, purely because none of their personal belongings turn up on the abandoned ship. It looks damning. It isn't.
Their family later reveals the brothers had already lost their sea gear months earlier in a completely separate shipwreck in early 1872. They had nothing to hide and no motive at all. After months of hearings, British authorities find zero evidence of foul play, mutiny, or murder. No conviction, no confession, no answer. The case is closed on paper and left permanently open in the public imagination. And that gap, that total absence of an answer, is exactly what turns the Mary Celeste into a legend. You are reading a magazine in 1884, 12 years after the disappearance, when a young doctor turned author named Arthur Conan Doyle publishes a short story called J. Habakkuk Jeffson's Statement. It's fiction, a dramatized tale of mutiny and a vengeful stowaway, but readers across Britain and America believe it's a factual account. Conan Doyle even misspells the ship's name as Marie Celeste in his story, and that error becomes so widely repeated that for decades afterward, more people know the ship by the wrong name than the real one. What happens next defies all logic. Over the following century, the legend grows wilder with every retelling. Drunken mutiny, pirate attack, giant waterspouts, sea monsters, and eventually, alien abduction. A 1935 film even casts horror icon Bela Lugosi as a homicidal sailor aboard her decks. But here is what nobody tells you. Modern researchers, using historical weather records and newly uncovered documents, have finally built a scenario that actually fits every physical clue left behind. Physical oceanographer Phil Richardson of the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution points out the ship wasn't flooding and wasn't badly damaged, so why would an experienced captain like Briggs ever order everyone into a lifeboat? The leading modern theory? Some of the 1,701 alcohol barrels, made of more porous wood, begin leaking invisible vapor into the hold during the storm. A faulty sounding rod reading convinces Briggs the ship is taking on dangerous amounts of water. Combined with the jammed pump and the terrifying possibility of an alcohol vapor explosion, Briggs makes the only choice that seems to make sense in that moment: get everyone off the ship, fast, into the lifeboat, tied by rope to the Mary Celeste itself, waiting for the danger to pass. And this is where everything changes. The rope breaks, or the storm tears it loose. Either way, 10 people are suddenly stranded in a small open boat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, watching their own ship, fully seaworthy, fully stocked with 6 months of food and water, sail away from them forever. You would have the same call Briggs made, faced with an imminent explosion, with your wife and 2-year-old daughter beside you. Sailors of that era would have done exactly the same thing. The tragedy isn't that 10 people made a fatal mistake, it's that the mistake was almost certainly the responsible choice. There's one final twist nobody expects. In August 2001, adventurer Clive Cussler announces his team has located the actual wreck of the Mary Celeste, embedded in a reef near Haiti. Headlines around the world declare the mystery ship finally found. But scientific tree ring testing on the recovered wood, conducted by researcher Scott St. George of the Geological Survey of Canada, reveals the timber came from trees that were still growing in 1894, a full decade after the Mary Celeste met her real, quieter end. In 1885, her final captain deliberately wrecked her off Haiti in a botched insurance scam. Even her physical remains have managed to fool the world one last time. What makes the Mary Celeste different from every other maritime disaster isn't the tragedy itself. Ships sink, sailors die. The ocean has claimed millions of lives across human history, and most of those names are forgotten completely. What makes this story endure for more than 150 years is the absence at its center. A ship that survived perfectly intact, while the 10 people who trusted her simply vanished into the space between one log entry and the next. Somewhere in that gap is Benjamin Briggs, doing what he believed was right for his wife and his little girl. That's not a ghost story. That's just what it costs sometimes to try to save the people you love. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments what you think really happened on that lifeboat, and subscribe for the next case file we crack wide open.